Hey, this is Mike with Riding in the Ozarks, and today we're talking about the upcoming Drag Specialties Battle of the Bagger race in Utah and the King of Baggers race series, and the fact that Harley-Davidson is back in racing in a big way. First, if you did not know, we have an alternative to Moto America's King of the Baggers racing. The Bagger Racing League is presenting the Battle of the Baggers, and they marketed this event as being more like a mini rally with a bike show, a stunt show, and racing. The Battle of the Baggers will take place in Erta, Utah on June 25th to the 27th. I'm going to leave a link in the description below where you can learn more about this new league and what they're up to, but there are some big names involved like Arlen Ness, Icon, Metzler, Custom Dynamics, and Drag Specialties, just to name a few. The BRL offers some additional classes like Hooligan GP and Big Twin GP, but they are still focusing on American-made V-twins at this time. If I was in Utah area, I would definitely be checking this event out. They claim they have over 100 riders ready to go. This is a road course, much like we've seen in the King of the Baggers events. A weekend pass starts at $70 for the event, with bike show, vendors, stunt show, and several different classes of V-twin motorcycle racing. I think this event will really appeal to the V-twin crowd that would go to rallies and similar events, more so than the Moto America live events, which I see as appealing more to people that are interested purely in racing and don't mind watching super sports and other type of motorcycles as well. It will be interesting to see how this event turns out and if it can gain traction like the King of the Baggers did. I know many of you are familiar with the King of the Baggers already, but for those that aren't, we're going to do a quick recap. In 2020, we had the inaugural King of the Baggers race, which pitted Harley-Davidson against the longtime rival Indian Motorcycles. I know some of you are going to ask why only Harley-Davidsons and Indians are allowed and not other manufacturers like Honda and Kawasaki. Well, this racing league is just in the early stages still, and if you look at the rules, you'll see that they do try and make sure that the bikes are somewhat competitive in respects to the engines. For example, if you're using a water-cooled Indian engine, you're limited to 112 cubic inch displacement, while air-cooled engines can run up to 131 cubic inches. There is a minimum weight amount of 635 pounds. I have a link below to the provisional regulations if you really want to know more about all of them, but allowing other manufacturers to compete will make it much more complicated to try and keep the bikes competitive. As you have to try and compensate for different styles of engines and sizes, the complexity of determining what's competitive becomes even more difficult. The King of the Baggers inaugural race was in October 2020 at Laguna Seca, and Indian took the top spot on the podium with first as well as third place. Yeah, I know all you Indian motorcycle fans are going to talk about how this proves that Indian is superior to Harley-Davidson in performance. I would argue that the racer riding the bike makes a huge difference to the team's success, maybe more so than the motorcycle itself. These bikes are nowhere near stock considering most of them have had over 200 pounds shaved off of them, and they're using the best performance parts that money can buy, especially when you look at the big teams like S&S and Vance and Hines. Now, I'm not saying that the motorcycle's performance doesn't have anything to do with it. I just think having the right rider and the right team setting the bike up plays a huge part when it comes to professional racing, and it's not just about the brand. Initially, when King of the Baggers announced their full season in 2021, there was to be 5 races. Since that announcement, we're down to 3. With the second race just completed, we're over halfway through the season already, with the final race being in mid-July at Laguna Seca. I'm not sure exactly why the 2 additional races were dropped from the end of the season, but I would have loved to have seen this competition stretch out till September, like it was originally planned. I really feel like more races are needed so that one bad race or bike failure doesn't cost you the championship. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. I was really disappointed in Harley-Davidson in 2020 when they announced they were dropping the factory race teams for American Flat Track Racing and NHRA Drag Racing. Harley-Davidson previously had a deal with Vance and Hines, and it was reported that the deal just didn't make financial sense for Harley-Davidson at this time to invest in racing, but they were still on good terms with Vance and Hines, who would remain the exclusive manufacturer and seller of the XG750R flat track motorcycle still. I'm not sure what has changed between November of last year and April of this year, but I'm happy to say Harley-Davidson is back into racing. Yep, Harley-Davidson announced in April that they would be doing a factory-sponsored race team with Kyle Wyman as their rider. At the age of 31, Kyle's now been competing for over half of his life in motorcycle racing. At the age of 15, he began racing XR750s in the Flat Track Series. The first race of 2021 King of Baggers Series was held in Atlanta at the beginning of May, and Kyle Wyman proved he was here to compete. While finishing second, he was less than half a second behind last season's champion Tyler O'Hara, who is riding the S&S Indian Challenger. Just to prove my point about how much of a difference the team and rider makes over the brand of motorcycle, the third place motorcycle, which was another Indian ridden by Frankie Garcia, was almost 26 seconds behind the leaders, and he barely edged out Hayden Gillum, riding the Vance & Hines Harley-Davidson by less than 0.2 of a second. The win gave Tyler O'Hara a 5-point lead in the series standings over Kyle Wyman. Just before the second race of the series, which took place in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, Harley-Davidson announced that they were adding Travis Wyman as an additional rider to their factory team. Travis is Kyle's younger brother and currently competes in several superbike classes in the Moto America racing leagues already. With round 2 being in Harley-Davidson's backyard in Wisconsin, I'm sure there was a lot of pressure on the Wyman brothers to get the job done and to get Harley-Davidson out on the podium. Kyle had the edge after qualifying, and he took the lead from the beginning of the race, but Tyler O'Hara was putting pressure on Kyle for first. Tyler managed to take the lead for a few seconds during lap 2 of the race, but Kyle took it right back in the next turn. Kyle was on his game, and he was setting the fastest laps of the weekend in his class, and he'd gotten about a half a second lead over Tyler going into the third lap when the Indian ridden by Tyler had some kind of issue and Tyler pulled off the track. With about 15-second lead over his brother Travis, Kyle took the checkered flag, and Vance & Hines' rider Hayden Gillum rounded out the podium as Harley-Davidson swept the podium, and the only Indian left in the race finished 5th, a full 42 seconds behind the leader. With the series only being 3 races and having 2 races completed, it looks like we'll most likely have a new champion this year for the King of Baggers, and he'll probably be riding a Harley-Davidson. Kyle Wyman now has 45 points in the series, with Hayden Gillum sitting at second place with 29 points. Third and fourth in the standings are Garcia and O'Hara with 27 and 25 points respectively. Even if Garcia wins the third race, he will finish the season with 52 points. As long as Kyle can finish in the top 7 places during the final race, he'll be ahead of the Indian, so his competition is looking to be Hayden Gillum on the Harley-Davidson that finished second in the 2020 inaugural race. Even if Hayden wins the final round and finishes the season with 54 points, Kyle just has to place in the top 5 to ensure his championship. I sure hope this last race doesn't end up like other races we see in big auto racing leagues where they race for points and not to win. I want to see Kyle go for the win and not play it safe trying to just end up with a top 5 finish. Now if something happens and Kyle Wyman fails to finish, like what happened to Tyler in race 2, then this shakes everything up a bit, with only 4 points separating the next 3 riders in the standings. Then Indian could find themselves back on the championship podium for the season. I know I'll be watching on July 11th to see how this Battle of the American V-Twin Baggers shakes out. I love the level of racing we're getting with the King of Baggers series, but I like the idea of the race being a mini rally kind of event, as well as really focused on V-Twins. I think the perfect combination for me would be an event like the BRL is planning, but with the quality and level of racing we're seeing in the Moto America race as the feature event. Now that we have talked about both events, I want to know, which event are you more interested in watching from home, and which are you more interested in attending in person? Do you think Harley will be King of the Baggers in 2021? If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you do that YouTube thing, check out the content on my channel, and if you dig it, don't forget to subscribe down below, ring that bell to be notified the next time I drop a new video, and as always, thank you for support, stay safe, and keep on riding.